Peter, when they passed the rule this week, my first thought was, are there really teams that don't have either a black or a female offensive assistant somewhere? This has to be done? This has to be required? That surprised me because I just would have assumed that every team could already check that box. Secondly, the one thing about the rule I don't like is that these individuals are going to be paid by a league-wide fund because that stigmatizes them on the way through the door. Because if this is a true opportunity, you don't want them in any way different from the rest of the coaches. And Sims and I talked about it. He was in that environment in New England. It's very competitive. It's very cutthroat. And if there's something that makes you different inherently from the moment you arrive, that makes it harder to compete on all fours with everyone else. And finally, the core of this problem, and we want to, I'll bring it back to Bruce Arians and appreciation for him and the things that he said yesterday. But nepotism is the biggest problem because opportunities are given to the children of coaches for a variety of reasons, many of which are valid. But when those seats are filled, when your coaches are predominantly white, by the white children of the white coaches, those are opportunities that could go to a more diverse and inclusive coaching staff. That's one of the biggest problems that the NFL has shown no inclination to even begin to address because I think the owners believe there's an inherent hypocrisy because they own the business. They have family members. They need to get their family members up to speed on running the business because they're going to die, and one of those family members is going to take over someday. And I try to tell people all the time, there's a fundamental difference between ownership succession and coaching succession because ownership succession is necessary to the operation and ownership of the business. Coaching succession, especially within the family, isn't because the coach is an employee, not an owner of the team. But that nepotism angle is one of the reasons why those opportunities aren't there as plentiful as they should be. And it's why they needed to take your advice and create a separate track that just gives people a chance to do the job. It's one thing to be qualified objectively. It's another thing to have the opportunity to grow and develop and learn through the reps and the hours and the games and the seasons of being an assistant coach.
Mike, I was told that there are about 20 to 25 in major college football. What is it called? The Power Five? Whatever that. I'm not a big college football person, but the big conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten and Pac-12, all that, that there are approximately 20 to 25 offensive coordinators or quarterback coaches or assistant head coach / offense, whatever. There's 20-ish. And when I did this story 6 weeks ago, Mike Locksley, who is black, who is the head coach at the University of Maryland, and he is the executive director of the Minority Football Coaches Association of America. I'm not saying that right, but that's in essence what it is. And I asked him if he thought that many of those candidates would jump to the NFL if given an opportunity like I discussed. And he goes, absolutely. He goes, not all of them would necessarily, but a lot would. And he goes, that's the kind of upward mobility we really, really need. Because for everyone who says, oh, wait a second, how big a deal is it really? All you have to do is look at the pipeline. Why is Kevin O'Connell a head coach in the NFL today? Look, and I'm not demeaning Kevin O'Connell. I like Kevin O'Connell. I think he's going to be good. But he is a head coach in the NFL today because he was on Sean McVay's coaching staff. And you can't just be on his coaching staff and, it's like the old joke, Joe Buck, I think, said it on TV. If you're his barista and you made him coffee, you're going to get an interview for a head coaching job. And ha-ha. But I do think that there is a certain cachet to being on the staff of highly, highly respected young wonderkind coaches. Like, for instance, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay. Look and see all the people who've worked with them, including Matt LaFleur, including Zach Taylor. Look and see all the people who've worked with them who have gone on not just to coach teams, to coach really damn well. I mean, look at LaFleur's record. It's one of the best 3-year records ever in NFL history atop a team. Zach Taylor, he gets the quarterback back. They make beautiful music together. They go to the Super Bowl. So, and listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the only way you get a job is this way. But I'll just say this. If right now that rule, which needs to become permanent and it needs to be carved into every budget of every NFL franchise, somehow, some way, $275,000, $300,000, so that you can actually attract really good candidates and you can have them sitting in the room with Aaron Rodgers all season, just basically to understand how this S works.
There's another angle to this too, and I promise we're going to bring it back to Bruce Arians. But since we're talking about this, Peter, this is a point that Sims has made. They need to pay the folks at the very bottom of the ladder more. There's this strange dynamic that they've convinced people is a badge of honor, a proving ground, an apprenticeship, where your first opportunity results in you getting paid nothing or next to nothing. So, if you have a family, if you don't have a family that has a lot of money, if you don't have a circumstance that allows you to basically go work for free or close to it to demonstrate that you have true passion, because nothing demonstrates true passion like working your ass off and not getting paid much to do it. Exactly. That needs to end. Yeah. That needs to end, because there are people who will self-select on the way through the door to not do it because they can't. I would love to do it, but I can't because I need to make money. I have bills to pay. I have mouths to feed. I have a car payment. I have to live in something other than a one-room, 400-square-foot apartment. That is a reality that never gets discussed, but there are certain people who can do it because I got the money, I got the support system in place.
Yeah.
And there are many who just can't. There are many who cannot say, hey, yeah, you know what, I can make it for 2 or 3 years with no income or absolutely close to poverty line, not even living wages to prove myself. Why does that, in of all industries, the National Football League, which is printing money like it's off a mimeograph, why in the world is that even necessary anymore? That's something else that needs to change.
Yeah, Mike, I want to tell you a story. In 2009, maybe 2008, Scott Pioli, who then at the time in 2000, this was 2008. He met a guy who was a graduate assistant at Boston College named Ryan Poles. Pioli was, basically the de facto GM for the Patriots at the time. And he met this kid just out of college named Ryan Poles and at Boston College. And he struck up a relationship. When you go to these college campuses, you meet a lot of these guys and get to know them a little bit. And the next year, Pioli offered him a job as a scouting assistant, basically kind of a gopher job with the Kansas City Chiefs when he got the GM job in 2009. So the one thing he said was, now, job doesn't pay much. I think it was like $30,000. Job doesn't pay much, but that's the way it is. And everybody understands that's the way it is in the NFL. When you start at an NFL job with an NFL team, you're at the bottom of the totem pole. Things are going to be scrappy, shall we say. Maybe take the S off. But anyway, you're not going to get paid much. When Ryan Poles got to Kansas City, he, at one point he looked down at his paycheck and he said, hey, wait a minute, I'm getting more than $30,000. Pioli, because he felt bad about making a guy move to a new place and have to get everything together, he basically started him at $40,000 instead of $30,000. But the vast majority of people who hire first-time people or just starter salaries, for college graduates, they're awful. It's like barista pay. But I'll just say this, that in many cases, the reason that they can get away with it is that if Ryan Poles doesn't want the job, there's 30 people behind him who would love to be a scouting assistant for the Kansas City Chiefs at $20,000 a year.
Exactly.
So that's one of the reasons why this happens.
And it eliminates people who just can't do it or won't do it. And I feel like there's this thought that, again, that's how you prove you love it. The first time I ever realized that that's the way it is, I heard about the experiences of Charlie Casserly when he was getting started. And I have found a quote while we've been talking here from Casserly about his early days in the NFL. He was an unpaid intern with the now Washington Commanders. He lived at the YMCA for $8 a night.
Yeah.
More bugs than people, he said, and he lived on jars of peanut butter and jelly swirl. That is no way to live. That is no way to cultivate a future. That is no way to treat your people when you have a multi-billion-dollar industry that made, in 2021 alone, $270 million through its money-for-nothing arrangement with gambling companies, where you're not doing anything differently, you're not doing anything more, you don't have to hire any more employees, you're just getting another $270 million league-wide just because you're letting the gambling companies say we're one of the 7 sportsbook partners of the NFL. So the money is falling from the sky. And if you want to know where the barriers are, there are various barriers. Nepotism is one, but not paying a living wage to the people at the very bottom of the ladder is another very real way that naturally prevents your coaching staff from being as diverse as it could be. And this is more about background, not just race. I mean, Peter, I never could have done it. It never would have been a thought for me. I had to go make money. I had college loans to pay off. I was as lower middle class as you could have been. I couldn't pause my life for 2 years if it was something I really wanted to do. There's no way in hell I would have been able to do it. It never even would have been a thought. So there are a lot of people that fall into that category who are never getting an opportunity, and that needs to change. That absolutely needs to change.
Yeah, and you make the good point. Teams should have to pay for this. I totally agree with you. You know, guy walks in the offensive meeting room. Oh yeah, that's the guy the league sent us. You know,
right.
It shouldn't be that way. It should be, this is a new hire is going to help us win. That should be the thought. You know, and I hope, I really hope that's one way. And look, the NFL is so desperate to increase the number of significant minority coaches at significant positions right now. They're so hungry to do that in my opinion, I think they need to understand that the teams have to get on with this too. This can't be something that the league is saying to the teams, you have to do this. Now go and take your medicine and hire somebody who's whatever to do whatever. The real key here is, Mike, I'm going to write about this for Monday. The real key is giving minority coaches real responsibilities. And that is something that everyone should be on the lookout for. Beat people who cover teams should absolutely find out exactly what the new coach is going to do on that staff, and how much responsibility is that coach going to have, and you know, make the team basically tell them exactly what it is, and then check during the season to make sure that that is what's happening. That's my thought.
Yeah, it's like any other industry. When you come in the front door, you get a certain amount of responsibility. You prove you can handle it, you earn more. You prove you can handle that, you earn more. You prove you can handle that, you earn more. And that needs to be a level playing field across the board as well. And it needs to be fundamentally a meritocracy based upon what people do once they get their seat at the table and they start doing the work.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.